Hello everybody, Carol Garrison here with Carol's Creative Escape. It is time for another Make It Monday. Today is Monday, April 21st, also known as my sister's birthday. So happy birthday, Jody. I am here tonight to share with you another card technique. My name is, I'm coming up live on my Facebook. Let me get it quieter there. Sorry about that. My name's Carol Garrison. Hi, Lori. Thanks for joining in. And I've been making cards for over 30 years, and my goal is to really simply spread joy one card at a time. And I hope to do that by giving a card, making cards, showing other people that they have the creativity they need to make that card, and maybe encouraging them even to be brave enough to give that card to somebody. I'm not affiliated with any one company. Have previously been with Stampin Up and love their products, but I just started looking around last year and realized just how much product I have in my house to use, and I've decided to step away from actively selling that product and encouraging not only myself, but perhaps some of the people watching these videos to dig into your stash. Go ahead, still buy the new stuff because it's fun. I'm still buying some new stuff. It's fun. It's pretty. But if you have a lot in your house, don't be afraid to dig back in and use it. I'm actually kind of having fun going in and, oh yeah, I remember this paper. Oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, I remember that. And it's really amazing how much we have that we can continue to use, even if we've had it for a long time. So I'm going to show you kind of a layered card using both scenery type paper as well as just regular paper. And all of my cards today are actually going to be thank you cards. I have volunteered to make approximately 40 thank you cards to use for an event at work. And so this card technique is a great way to do that. I am going to show you a way you can slightly conserve on your paper, and then also make some suggestions on how you can perhaps save time on making this card by not trying to conserve paper. I've done it both ways, and quite frankly, if I need to make 40 cards, I think, total, I'm going to be not conserving my paper so much because it does take a little more effort to do that technique. I hope everybody had a great week. If you are one that celebrates the Easter season, I hope that you were able to celebrate that in the way that you want to do that. And also with hopefully family and friends. We hosted, I think we ended up with 20 people, 19 or 20 people yesterday. Kept losing count every time I tried to figure out how many people were there. But crowded house, but it's great to be together with family. I do come from a slightly larger family, and it's been a while since we were all together. So anyhow, that is kind of where we're at this weekend. I just need to get through 2 more days at work, and then I'm actually off Thursday, Friday. Looking very much forward to going to a getaway weekend with some family and friends and crafting all weekend. So let me go ahead and flip my camera over. Whoops. Sorry for the movement here. I'm going to pop it in. Lovely close-up of my hand. We'll add some light. We'll get, oh, now you're seeing my ceiling. Jeez, isn't it lovely? There we go. And I still can't figure out how to get my image. No, why is it doing that again? Flip. All right, there we go. And look at, now I can get my image a little closer. All right. Not quite that close, huh? Oh, one of these days it's just going to work the very first time I do it. We'll see if we can get this adjustment in pretty close. I'm going to leave it like that because you could spend all day trying to get it perfect. Anyhow, I am really excited to share this with you. I was kind of looking through, not sure what I was going to do tonight. I didn't have as much time last night after company left to come up with my game plan for tonight. And so spent some time looking on Pinterest, and I really liked this idea, and I thought, oh, this would be a fairly easy one that I can also do and make mass quantities of. So Your paper portions are quite easy. 5.5 by 8.5. I am using a white layer for my base card, simply because I am mass producing and I don't necessarily want to take a chance that I'm going to run out of some of my colored cardstock or things like that. And then this is also a great card on your cardstock if you've got scraps that you need to use up. What you really need is a scrap that measures 4 by 5.25. And if you want to conserve paper, you can actually cut this inner piece right out of here. It measures 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. And I just cut my rectangle larger and then trimmed it down to the size because that was a little quicker. But honestly, I think going forward, I'm just going to dig through my scraps and cut this piece out as 2 3/8 and 3 3/4. Just because for me, it was a lot quicker. And then you also need a piece of designer series paper that measures 2 and, oh, I want to make sure I get this to you correctly. And my little sheet with my measurements hopped away. All right, we'll go to this one. This piece of designer paper measures approximately 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. And I am actually using a die from, these are some old retired rectangle dies. There's the stitch rectangles from Stampin' Up, obviously. And I'm using, I think it's the 4th die to cut this out. So that's just, you could do ovals. I think I am going to do some of these as ovals. Right now I was just making a series of them with this to kind of practice the technique. And then what you want to do is once you figure out where you want to cut that scenery out, you could have it offset like this. You could have it in the center. You could offset it over to the side. When I'm done here, I'll show you a couple of the cards that I've made already, and it will kind of reflect all of that information. This is really your personal opinion and where you want to pull your color from. So to make this card, once you've done your cutting, it's fairly simple. We're just going to take our adhesive and add it. And again, this can be a straight triangle. You could use the deckled edges. You could do ovals. You could do circles. I'm going to change it up because I think I will get bored if I do them all as rectangles. And then it also creates a little more variation too in the cards that I am making for the purpose that they're going to be used. So we're going to attach this like this. And then because I said at the beginning, using my stash is an important thing for me as I am working on cards and making my videos. I also dug through my little box of twine, and I'm finding different colors of twine that I can use on my cards. So we've got this. I am going to go ahead and wrap my twine around. Actually, I'm going to do something different with this card. And I haven't done this yet for a while. So I'm just cutting 2 pieces of twine that are the same length. And then I am just going to tie them into a bow. I like to use 2 pieces of twine sometimes when I'm making my bows, just because it gets a little thicker and you end up with kind of the double bows. I also find sometimes it helps the bows lay a little flatter. But they definitely stand out a little bit more, I think, when you use 2. I haven't done this on most of the cards that I've made tonight. In fact, this is the only card. But it's just an option, and it's a way to get a little more oomph to your bows when you're using twine. So we're going to set that aside. On my other samples, I was wrapping twine around the card like this, or I also did one with it wrapped going this direction. If you're going to wrap twine around your card base, you just want to make sure that you do it before you adhere this layer to the front of the card. It just works a little better when you do it that way. Assembly is simple. fold your card over on the score line that you made. Again, this is a 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. You could also do this as 4 1/4 by 11, and you would just score it at 5.5. That part doesn't really matter. And then to assemble the card, you're going to notice that some of mine may hang over or it may not. If I flip it over, there's going to be stuff hanging over. That doesn't matter because all we're concerned about is there's no cardstock in the center opening here. So to adhere this, I am going to take my tape runner and I am going to do 2 strips there just because I want to make sure that that side is held down well. And then this one gets to be a little funkier because it's so narrow. So I'm just going to grab, you can use either silicone mat or these are the liners that you can put in your ovens. I like to use those when I'm embossing, but they also don't let adhesive stick to them. And then, oops, almost messed up. We're going to go ahead and put this onto our cardstock. Now the card, if you do cut it out of the center, you just need that fine 1/8 of an inch border going around. So it is okay to cut bigger and cut down. I found it a little difficult to do my opposite corner thing just because my paper was wobbly as I was trying to lay it down. So this is one of those instances where I'm kind of looking more to make sure I have even borders at this point. And then I'm lightly adhering it, so if I need to do some adjustments, I am able to kind of wiggle it just a little bit. Whoops. Sure, just a little bit. Oh. We had just enough leftovers from our Easter dinner yesterday to have for dinner tonight and not have to work very hard. Oh, now I got a weird little, there we go. So that was kind of nice, and I have room in my refrigerator again too. Okay, so now see, I should have been doing this on one of these so that it would stick. That way I'm not getting adhesive on my work surface. But you can see here that the paper overlaps. It's not a big deal. Again, we're going to come through and add adhesive to this layer, and I am going to go like that. And then I'm going to just center this on this front piece. You could make these 2 layers a little bit bigger by 1/8 of an inch if you wanted to, so that you just had the narrow white border. I think I'm going to do some variations like that. I also have a tendency when I'm putting things onto the front of my card, I keep my card open, then I can really see that score line. I don't know why. That's just how I do my thing. And then we are going to pop this up onto dimensionals and put it in place here. This is kind of like those triple layered stamped cards that we make, only we're just letting the paper do all the talking. Again, I have to make 40 of these, so I was looking for a layout that was going to be quick and easy for me to complete. You can tell I tried drawing the square in and everything. I don't know. I'm going to add some foam squares to the back of my card. I got these when a craft store was going on clearance, and I have found that it's really kind of difficult getting this blue backing off. So I will say that I do have a preference for the ones that kind of have the waxy paper, like the dimensionals that Stampin' Up sells. It's just personal preference for me because I just don't have patience to sit here and get this blue backing off. But I have them in my stash, so of course I'm going to use them. I've never used this brand before, and even though they stick and they raise things up, I don't want to work this hard to get the back off. And I've tried a couple different things to kind of grab it, and just not having much success with that. So there we go. And I'm doing 5, including that one in the center, just so that it holds it up. So on this particular card then, I am just going to put it over that opening, so it just kind of hangs over. And then my cuts will match up with those trees that are on there, and it just adds a little bit of pop to the card. Now I have this gold ribbon or gold twine bow that we put out, and I've got a thank you sentiment. I am actually going to probably do it just like that. I wasn't sure where I was going to put it. I am not using any more dimensionals on here because it is kind of stacked high. These cards are actually not going to be mailed, so I could without having to worry about that. But my preference right now is to not do that. I'm going to grab just a couple glue dots. These particular glue dots are left over from a kit or 2 that I had. And again, I use everything up in my supplies. Even if I didn't use it with the kit, I will hang on to it. That's how I got my little box of odds and ends of twines that I shared with you. And right there is my card. So it is simple. I do think just saving time by cutting this layer out is a quicker way to do it. But if you want to conserve paper or you don't have a lot of cardstock, you can certainly cut it out of that base layer because nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to know. So that is the card that I made. I want to show you a couple different variations because I do need cards that are kind of masculine and cards that are feminine as well. So here's one that I made just using a patterned paper. And I did have to be careful to make sure I had my circles lined up. I don't know that I actually had to do that, but I think it kind of adds to this technique. For me, it was important that I had it lined up. This is another one I did with an all-over design. And I ran my ribbon going the opposite way just to make it pop a little bit more. And then here's another one I did out of kind of the scenic paper. And again, just to have it popped up. So you can see I did one in the center. I've done them off to the right. I've done them off to the left. I've done all over patterns. I've done the scene, and it works regardless of the card that you do. So I found this to be a pretty universal card. I did pre-cut and stamp. I've got several more papers picked out that I'm going to do. Let me show you what some of those are. I don't have background colors for all of them yet, but I really did dig in my stash a little bit to find some of these. So I've got just that kind of all over design with the bright one. They'll all be thank you cards. I found that one. And again, I'm looking for cards that'll be both masculine and feminine, kind of gender neutral too as it goes. This one, I'm going to be using a darker color. I kind of played a little bit with how I wanted to go with it, but I think I'm going to go with that color. I'm trying a lighter one with just an all over pattern like that. I've got another scenic pattern. I've played a lot with different background colors, and I've actually ended up going back to the Night of Navy darker blue because I just wasn't happy with the way some of the other blues look like. Here's a couple more patterns that I'm thinking about using as well. So really, what you've got in your stash, I promise you're going to have something that's going to work for this technique and that you're going to be able to create your cards with, and just look through what you've got. It's a great one to use up those smaller odds and ends of cardstock if you've got pieces that are you know, at least 4 by 5 1/4. You can use that for your background. And it really is easy. It's straight cuts. You've got one through the die cutting machine. The options are kind of endless for you. So again, let me just show you the cards that I've put together. I really encourage you to give this a try. Quick, easy thank you cards, scenes, or just all over designs. Either one will work for you. Take care, everybody. I've got 36 more cards to make, so we'll see you all next week. I'll let you know if I was successful. Good night.